Unboxing a USB-C charging adapter for Garmin proprietary plug watches, which I think are most Garmin watches. The idea is simple. What if you just take a normal USB-C cable and add an adapter, and thereby you don't need additional Garmin cables. This in theory then allows you to just carry micro USB cables and then to have micro USB to USB-C adapters, or you can also carry USB-C cables and then have micro USB adapter, as many devices still run on micro USB and haven't updated to USB-C yet. And then to, in addition, also carry just an adapter for Garmin watches. And this is what this is, and this is what we will unpack now. It costs, I think, 13 euros on Amazon or 14 euros, and it comes with one charging cable, and I also needed an additional charging cable because the one I have doesn't work properly, and also these two little adapters. Normally you take the Garmin watch and then you plug in the normal cable, which is a USB-A cable to Garmin proprietary plug cable. As usual with every watch comes one Garmin cable. So if you need one for home charging, but also one you want to always have in your rucksack or backpack or everyday backpack, then you already need a second one. But then what if you just had adapters? So the idea is this. I do not need to carry an extra cable. Currently, as I already explained, I have USB-A cables to micro USB cables. These are the most cables I have. Then I take these cables and I already have multiple adapters that then adapt to USB-C. I can attach them by using this here. And something similar might also be useful with the Garmin. Now, then I can take one of these adapters, and these adapters also adapt basically the direction. So this now means that you can take your watch and then plug it in, and then you can charge it from beneath the watch or from outside the watch. So this is what it looks like if you have the adapter on the watch itself. And then now you can see that it is USB-C. I think it is reversible, not reversible, but you can plug it in both ways. So you could also potentially plug it in like this. Now you can take a cable, and depending on what your baseline of cable is, whether it's micro USB cables still, I do have many micro USB cables just because they come with so many different devices that charge with micro USB. I also made a point in the past to try to adapt all the different things I need to charge to USB-A. So if I then have a USB-A multi-charger in my home, but also in my bag, then I only need multiple cables that then adapt to the different things. So now we can take one of these cables, and this might be in your backpack or at home, and you can then plug it in. Obviously, the more adapters you have, the faultier potentially the connection, and also the bigger potentially the connective thing here. So you might do the same thing, but only use a USB-C cable beforehand. But since I just needed a system, I went with the micro USB cables as baseline because I just have so many of these. So what does it look like with a USB-C cable? If you use a USB-C cable, then you also plug it in like this. And obviously there is still a little bit of a chunky thing going on that is just, this is approximately, I don't know, a few centimeters, maybe 5 or 6 centimeters. And then you can just plug it in again from both sides. So now it is plugged in, actually plugged into my computer with this adapter. And now from the other side, seems to also work fine. Does my computer now again make a sound? No. Yes, it now did. And the Garmin Fenix 6S Pro, which is the watch I have, also shows charging as well as connection to the computer. Now the only thing is missing is chains like these, which you then can use to connect the adapter permanently to the one side of your charging cable. What this means for me now is that I can take out the original charging cable from Garmin, which is, by the way, not as long. So this is probably 50 centimeters as the one that comes with this set here, which is 1 meter. And I can take this out and use this charger port for a micro USB cable that then allows me to charge 3 different kinds of ports. To charge with micro USB, to charge with USB, but to also switch it to the Garmin one. Further along in the implementation, I now take one of the many cables I still have. So these are all the micro USB cables I collected over the years, and I made a point to have a USB-C adapter for all of them. So I bought just cheap adapters, which sometimes connect via data also to the PC, but sometimes they do not. So now I just take one of these adapters and I detach the chain. Unfortunately, this Garmin adapter did not come with a chain, so I can take this out here. I then connected it to the chain that is already attached, because otherwise I would have two things. And also so now I changed it, but you still have the problem that these are fairly loose. So you need to fix them in a certain position on the cable. In order to do this, was what has somewhat become a norm in my setup is these rubber bands. I have a knot tied in one of these, not in one of these, in the middle of this rubber band, up to a point where then if I wrap it around once, it acts basically as a handle for this. So if this is lying around, I can also grab it easier. But also it now prevents these two chains from moving, and that's kind of the final product I'm aiming for. Whether at home or in my backpack, I do have multiple USB ports. You can also now find USB-A ports in Starbucks, for example, or also in trains and in coaches that move from city to city. And then you can just have your cable, and you then can plug all of these in. Micro USB, USB-C, and also Garmin